Hey everybody, it's GauntletX, and welcome back to some more Magic Arena, and today we're going to be playing another premiere draft of Guilds of Ravnica. Without further ado, let's get into the pack 1, pick 1. Pretty weak pack here. Steam Vents is obviously a great dual land, but not really a pack 1, pick 1 worthy card, and I'm not a huge fan of these uncommons. Flight of Equinox is interesting thanks to the Convoke. You can try to cast it for cheap, but you need a ton of creatures to do so. There's not a lot of great ways to get a ton of creatures on board. Selesnya did fall a little bit short in the format at its token production, and for the same reason Inspiring Unicorn isn't incredible. There's not a ton of excellent ways to get a super wide board of creatures, so I'm not super into that uncommon. And then Invent is funny, but really, really narrow. So that leaves us with the commons here, where we have Watcher in the Mist, which is almost an uncommon quality card. It's almost a full-on air elemental, your 5-mana 4/4 flyer. Instead, it trades off 1 power to let you surveil 2 and set up your draws. I think Watcher in the Mist is just a great value play in any blue deck, be it Dimir or Izzet, and it's a solid way to start a draft. For pick number 2, this is another weaker pack. I think District Guide as a 2-for-1 play is quite nice, plus it can pick up a Guild Gate, so it can find a dual land when you play it and really fix your mana, so I think District Guide is the best card here. The only thing that's awkward about this is that Guilds of Ravnica is a Ravnica set, which means there are only 5 2-color pairs represented here, and green-blue Simic is not one of them. For blue, we can play blue-red for Izzet or blue-black for Dimir, so District Guide doesn't overlap with our first pick at all, but it's still by far the best card in the pack, and it's still going to be the pick. Second best is probably like Sumala Woodshaper, which is even harder to play with our first pick anyway, so we're just going to stay open and take the strongest cards here for now. Pick number 3. Generous Stray is a decent 2-for-1 value play, similar to that District Guide. This one is just draw a card blind, and it's only a 1/2 instead of a 2/2, so it's certainly a little weaker, but it's a fine card. Direct Current can be fine removal, because you can use this as 2 different removal spells against smaller creatures, since you can jumpstart it. Recast it from your grave by discarding a land. Darkblade Agent is pretty nice in Dimir. It's not that hard to get a bunch of ways to surveil, so this can be just a 2/3 Death Toucher that draws you a card whenever it hits your opponent, which can be an excellent card draw engine. So we can try to go Dimir off of this Watcher in the Mist, and that would be fine. We could lock in on green with Generous Stray, or we can head into Izzet off of the Watcher in the Mist. I'm going to take the Darkblade Agent here. I think it's pretty comparable in power level to the Direct Current. It's a little weaker than Generous Stray, but Darkblade Agent, I think, is the best play for potentially putting all these cards together, because blue-black is an archetype, and black-green is the other black archetype, so we can splash in some Golgari, or splash in some Dimir in a blue-black-green deck, and that is how we can overlap our green with our blue in a way. Pick 4, Thought Erasure is a pretty good card. Take your opponent's best card in their hand, make them discard it, and surveil 1 to trigger all your cards that care about surveilling, like Darkblade Agent. So, big fan of Thought Erasure, and I think that's a solid reason to lock in on Dimir alongside this agent. But Deadweight is also great cheap removal, and if we wanted to be pretty aggressive, Fresh-Faced Recruit is a solid Boros aggro card, but so it doesn't work with these. Actually, the Bodyguard is deceptively good in Boros aggro as well. Really, really strict downside, but a 3/3 that puts a +1/+1 counter on another attacking creature every time it attacks is pretty big, so it's kind of worth the downside. But Boros aggro pretty far from where we've started here. Now, it's all filler nonsense out of the green, and there is nothing in blue or black, which means I guess we take the random Boros aggro card, the Runaway Steamkin. We want to be really deep into red for this card, but then it can play like a 2-mana 4/4 for lucky. Maybe Conclave Guildmage is even the better card, but whatever we're taking is very far off from what we're currently drafting, so this is awkward. Okay, pick 6 is much better for us. We have Dimir Informant as probably the best card, but Mission Briefing is kind of fun. It's not very good, though, because it's almost like 2-mana draw a card, right? Because you just spend 2 mana to pick up your best instant or sorcery from grave, essentially. You have to immediately recast it. But I mean, it's fine really late in the game with a really controlling deck. Is Dimir Informant better? I mean, Whisper Agent is the really good 3-mana Surveiller out of Dimir, because it has Flash, so you can hold up your counter spells and then cast that if you don't counter something. So it plays a lot better than Informant. I feel like mission briefing's just too narrow, though. I don't think it's actually better than Informant, probably. Alright, pick 7. Radical Ideas, fine filler for any blue deck. Also, the Dev Champion for a decent Selesnya card. We do have the 1 District Guide. Maybe our backup plan could be Selesnya here, because Radical Idea is pretty filler. Like, if we see a bunch of Selesnya stuff continuing to go really late, then it might be open enough to just pivot onto. But Devious Cover-Up's a good card for Dimir control decks. We won our first draft with Devious Cover-Up loops. Our first draft of the return, I should say. Pick 9, we did wheel the Unicorn and the Flight of Equinaughts, so yep, Selesnya looks like a backup plan, where I still think I like Unicorn a little better. The other card's just so expensive, even with Convoke. These cards are all poop. I'm just going to rare draft an uncommon to speed up the vault progress. These cards are all poop except Generous Stray. This was the best card in the pack when we passed it, and it's still here pick 11, so pretty solid sign for green. At the very least, we're splashing green instead of red in our Dimir deck. At the most, we're actually just playing Selesnya. If we open up a really good Selesnya rare, then we can go for it here. But I really like our Watcher in the Mist, Darkblade Agent, and Thought Erasure, and then Informant and Cover-Up are pretty fine. Selesnya might just be the much more open path to take. Yep, pick 13 Conclave Guildmage means there is no one in the draft pod playing Selesnya. So we might want to hop in here. And I say might because this format is kind of unbalanced power level-wise. Dimir and Boros are by far the strongest 2-color pairs. So unless one of the other pairs is like really, really open, if you've started on Dimir, if you're started on Boros, you're pretty solid to just stay there. But we have now seen evidence that Selesnya is very, very open. So we could take like Status Statue to splash in off of our green as a solid removal spell. We can take another Thought Erasure, we can take another Darkblade Agent, or we can lock in on Selesnya and just take like a Healer's Hawk here, which is great. It's really, really efficient. If you can get any Mentor cards out of the white to go with this to put counters on it, it is ridiculously good. It's good at, what is it called? Convoking. Good at convoking your big stuff because it's just a cheap creature too. This might not be the right place to go because of how unbalanced the colors are here, but we know that Selesnya is wide open. So I'm going to hop in here and grab the Healer's Hawk. I'm just going to commit here from pick 1 of pack 2. And get past all the sweet Selesnya uncommons. And that way we also get to play a pretty different deck from our first draft instead of just running it back Dimir into Dimir. Because I'm sure we're going to play against plenty of Dimir decks. I feel like 75% of our opponents draft 1 were Dimir, so we'll still see plenty of Dimir, just on the other side of the table this time. Pack 2, pick 2, Camaraderie's fine. Obviously we need to have a bunch of creatures on board for it, but can draw us a lot of cards. I feel like it's better to take that than like Dissident here, and those are the only on-color cards. I mean, Deadly Visit is really good removal, and we could still like splash black because we have District Guide, and Guild Gates have not been getting picked up super highly. I'll actually take Deadly Visit. I feel like Camaraderie is going to come back to us anyway at this rate. And yeah, Selesnya can splash black for some Golgari cards. Pick 3, once again, the Selesnya cards just aren't that good. Generous Stray and Loxodon and Restorer are fine, and obviously the Guild Gate is fine, but Blood Operative is a great card. 3 mana, 3/1 lifelink that can keep coming back whenever you surveil. You have to pay some life to do it, but it gains you that life off of its lifelink. House Guildmage is also a good card for Dimir. That's awkward, we're getting past a bunch of Dimir good stuff. Yeah. As much as I'd like to play Selesnya here, I don't think I can justify not taking House Guildmage or Blood Operative as just the way better cards, and I'll go ahead and take Blood Operative over House Guildmage, because then we might still be able to be like Selesnya plus Golgari instead of Dimir. Yeah, like here there's no good Dimir. Luckily, except like a Devious Cover-Up's fine. So we can take the Champion. The Bounty of Might can sometimes just randomly kill your opponent, which is funny, but It's also so much mana to cast. And there's some really efficient counter spells, mainly the disinformation, or not disinformation. I forget what it's called. Disdainful Stroke, that's what it is. 2 mana to counter something that costs 4 or greater. That's a common, and it's a very good, popular one. Probably take Generous Stray and wheel Ledev Champion, or take Ledev Champion, wheel Generous Stray. I don't think I want a big 6-drop here. I'm going to take the Champion. I think it's much better. So we'll just make sure we get that. Now we'll take Golgari Guildgate to splash in the Deadly Visit. We find enough black sources. There's Golgari Findbroker here too. I guess we could go like Golgari splash in white, because this is a really good value play. 4 mana, 3/4, pick up the best permanent from your graveyard. There's also Whispering Snitch to just be a Dimir Surveil deck. So tempting. The Snitch would still be okay in Golgari Splash White as well. Findbroker is a real difficult mana cost, though, so I don't know about that one. I'm just going to take the Snitch for some overlap. Golgari Splash White or Dimir if that happens, but boom, pick 6 Conclave Cavalier. Never mind. Crawl Harpooner is also good, and this pack doesn't come back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, we don't get this back, so we can't take the Harpooner and wheel the Cavalier as much as I'd love to. Cavalier's just so good. 4 mana, 4/4 Vigilance, it dies and splits into 2 2/2s with Vigilance. Card is nasty. It also costs double green, double white, which is pretty difficult, so it kind of gets rid of the whole splashing in double black cards plan there. And we go pure Selesnya. Which means I don't actually need another Selesnya Guildgate. I can take Rosemane Centaur over that if we're going to be just 2 colors. It would still be helpful with double green, double white, but I think Rosemane Centaur is actually pretty good. Slam down a pretty big creature pretty early. I don't love Peacemaker because I don't like giving the more controlling decks some life, but it's still a 3 mana 3/3 on curve. I think I'd rather take just the really tricky trick of Pax Favor that sometimes you can cast without any mana untapped and really be like, oops, gotcha. Status Statue, I think, even with like a double green, double white card, is reasonably splashable. This is like one of the few cards that you could actually do it. Maybe it's still better to take Generous Stray over this, but we don't have any like pure Selesnya removal right now. And with Status Statue, you can splash this with like 0 black sources, just a single Golgari Guildgate. You don't have to play any just swamps in your deck, because you always have access to status, at least, off of just the green mana. So it's like the most splashable of splashes of all time. Alright, get plenty of these Generous Strays incredibly late in this draft pod anyway. Oh, actually Golgari Guildgate over the Dissident here. I only have 2 2-drops. Maybe not supposed to, but I've got the Status Statue. I want to have 1 or 2 Golgari Guildgates. Get that Peacemaker. Okay, so let's get the non-creatures into a stack. Here's another District Guide. That's pretty good. So now we have double District Guide to go with the 1 Golgari Guildgate. So it's like 3 Golgari Guildgates, which makes Status Statue a pretty easy splash. And we don't have to play any mono black sources. Every source in our deck is still going to be white or green, which helps with Cavalier. So yeah, District Guide it is. Let's do our thing. Pack 3, pick 2. This pack is rough. There's nothing in Selesnya, really. This card is so narrow. Heroic Intervention for 5 mana when Heroic Intervention is already not that good in draft. I guess you untap your whole board, so you try to kill their whole attacking team, but there's way too many really controlling decks like Dimir and Izzet in this format for this to be relevant in every matchup. There's a lot of matchups where this is like never relevant because they're just almost never attacking you until super late. I think we just take another Golgari Guildgate. I mean, Righteous Blow would be reasonable. Maybe a Flight of Equinaughts. Try to get a big Convoking finisher, but there should be plenty of those. I've passed up on a lot of them, though. At some point, I probably should have taken one. All right, 2 mana, 2/1 first striker on the play. Wow, Thoughtbound Phantasm, Murmuring Mystic, and Artrada? Everything's open in this draft pod. Probably would be Murmuring Mystic by a tiny bit if we were still Dimir, but all 3 of these are incredible options. Even the Artful Takedown. Yeesh. No shot. Is the player on our right is Selesnya somehow? The 2-for-1 play over the guild gate. Woodshaper's fine. Another Woodshaper's fine. They also loop together pretty well for value. Another Rosemane Centaur. This can be our beefy card to try to convoke into. Pick 7 District Guide. Alright. I will play every District Guide in the draft pod. I do need 2 drops, so maybe I'm actually supposed to take Dissident, but I'm not passing District Guide for Dissident. There we go, Siege Worm, there's a finisher. Boom! Giant Convokey Trampler. Now we have 23 non-land cards and 3 guild gates. So everything we take, we can cut our weakest card from our deck. I think Peacemaker's the first cut, because it gives our opponent some life. So we go Iron Shell Beetle over Centaur Peacemaker, or we take Golgari Guildgate and cut nothing for it. That's also pretty fine, but I'm going to get some more 2-drops on curve, and the fact that the Iron Shell Beetle can hit the board and put a counter on Healer's Hawk is pretty sweet. Pick 9 Watcher in the Mist! Good cards everywhere. This must just be a juiced draft pod. Okay, we play Righteous Blow for more removal over Urban Utopia. We've got double Golgari Guildgate, and the only splash we have is for black, so... Grab that Righteous Blow. Criminal to see pick 11 Thoughtbound Phantasm and Whisper Agent, 2 great Dimir options. Sadness on the stack. We would have had the strongest deck in the pod if we just stuck to Dimir the entire time. But I'm going to assume, because most of the people drafting the set are a lot newer to the format since it is flashing back and it's a very old set at this point, I'm gonna assume that the color imbalance is just not gonna be dealt with properly in these draft pods. Because everyone's newer to the set, they don't know what the color imbalance is. So if you're drafting the format to win, and drafting strictly the best way for this flashback, I feel like you just force Dimir and Boros almost every time. And probably Dimir, because that's going to be a less popular strategy for newer drafters to the format. Boros is simpler, you just slam creatures and attack. So if we're drafting strictly the best decks that we possibly can as safely as possible, we're probably Dimir in every single draft, and that doesn't make for fun content. Let's try to show off a different guild each time. And we've done that today. Seeing that Selesnya was super, super open, we hopped onto it to build a Selesnya deck. Even though we could have had a really busted Dimir deck, we still have a really good Selesnya deck, and we get to show off a different color pair this time around, so that should be fun. So let's go ahead and cut the final 2 cards out of this deck. Probably Portcullis Vine, because while sure you can convoke with it, it never attacks, which is a bit of an issue. And you know what? With 3 District Guides to pick up another land, if we make it to at least 3 mana, I think I'll get rid of a 17th land here. The Woodshapers don't pick up lands, but all the District Guides do. I'm going to drop a Vine and a land. We're on 19 green cards, 13 white. We're on 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 green sources and 8, 9 white sources. So we just cut 1 plains and call it a 16 land deck here. Alright, here's a look at our final deck list for today. We're on a nice little streamlined Selesnya aggro deck. As you can see, Selesnya was wide open. We got tons of the multicolored cards towards that deck. The premium uncommons like Ledev Champion that attacks in as a massive creature while being able to dump out some soldier tokens as a mana sink in the late game. The Conclave Cavalier, just a beefy vigilant threat that dies into even more vigilante tokens. The Woodshapers for 2-for-1 value plays, the Centaurs for beefy vigilant creatures we can convoke out early. Just all of the multicolored Selesnya cards were scooped up in this draft pod, so we've got a nice aggressive curve of creatures that we can beat down with or use to convoke out our bigger threats. And the biggest kind of fear with this deck is the lack of removal. We've just got 1 statue and 1 Righteous Blow, and then a Pax Favor to leverage as a combat trick. But I think our creature curve is pretty great. We've got a lot of good little 2-for-1s with 3 District Guides, 2 Generous Strays, and 2 Sumala Woodshapers. And we've got a pretty high creature count to try to just overwhelm our opponent with a ton of damage on board. So we'll see how it all goes for us as we head into the gameplay. Alright, here we are on the play for game 1. This is a definite keep, but I don't like how the Guild Gate fits into the curve here, where I want a Healer's Hawk turn 1, but then I Guild Gate turn 2 and don't play my 2-drop Dissident. I think I still just play the 2-drop turn 2, and I'm just a little bit sad about it, but here we are. Playing against Boros, so it's going to be an aggressive matchup here. We did not hit a land, which is awkward. I can statue to win this fight. I guess I could do that on blocks. That would probably have been safer. I would just drop a Dissonant. I guess if I tried to do it on blocks, instant speed removal would be really bad for me. Play another Dissident or play the Hawk? Let's play another Dissident here. Be mana efficient again. Save the Hawk for a turn we're trying to hold up a status. Unfortunately, we did not hit a land in our 2-land opener here. So take 4, and we have missed 3 for 3 on our draws towards lands. Guess I kind of have to drop a Healer's Hawk and pass here. I hit for 4, they crack back for... Even if they have no other spells, they buff the Challenger and then put a +1/+1 counter on Legionnaires. They crack back for 6. Guess I just Healer's Hawk and pass. Then I'm holding up status and Pax Favor. I could combat trick both of their creatures away, potentially. If they don't have an instant of their own. Crater Maker. Well, so much for that. I guess I can anti-Crater Maker with the Pax Favor. Yeah. They need, like, more 1-mana interaction. Okay, what is the play here when they have Crater Maker on board? It's probably double block the Challenger, single block the Legionnaire. They pop Crater Maker on a Dissident. I respond with a status to still kill the Challenger, and then a Pax Favor to kill the Legionnaire. This could go bad for me if they just don't try to crack the Crater Maker. But if they do, it goes so wildly in my favor, I think I have to try. Oh no! The 1-mana trick to go with it to still have Crater Maker up? Yeesh. This is only 1 mana? Yeah. Wow. That's just tremendously good. Ah, I can't believe we have double combat trick and it just doesn't even do anything here then. I guess I can still... I have to let Healer's Hawk die now. I just status a Dissident. They try to Crater Maker it in response. And then when they try to Crater Make it, I Pax Favor. Okay, or they don't try to Crater Maker. Cool. There's no way I'm casting a Pax Favor on a Healer's Hawk here. I guess I could Pax Favor this Dissident and then we don't lose either one. But I lose the Pax Favor. This collection of cards has been just exceptionally annoying for me. Alright. Pax Favor. Kill the Challenger without losing the Dissident unless they lose the Crater Maker to it. Three mana, boom. We can Generous Trade or Ledev Champion. I don't want a Ledev Champion against Crater Maker. Say it would be really funny if they just decide to trade Crater Maker to a Dissident now, after all of that nonsense. Another Boros Challenger. Ooh, open Boros. Yikes. Where do you find these pods? Well, Dimir was incredibly open in our pod, but I haven't seen a pod where Boros has been this open yet. Dimir's been constantly open for me. Yeah, Boros is just as nasty as Dimir if it's open. And this is wild. The double Challenger, double Crater Maker. Incredibly premium uncommons from our opponent. Now we have to hold on blocks and get crushed. They just get to Crater Maker away our champion. The Boros Challenger can buff up to be a 3/4 and also make the Legionnaire a 3/3. Who would win, an open Selesnya deck or an open Boros deck? I think an open Boros deck by a lot. But we're trying our best. There's the Bodyguard too. I mean, I guess, to be fair, this isn't just like Selesnya sucking, because we've also been really, really low on mana with these draws. But yeah, I mean, this just like, feels unbeatable for these cards. Can't do anything about this Legionnaire. It's going to kill me pretty fast now. Just 2 swings. They have 2 different ways to mentor it up to 3 power. But they don't mentor it, so we have 3 turns to live. Nope, that's another flyer. And that's a land. Well, poop. Alright, none of those saves us. That was a rough one. The whole combat trick interaction worked really poorly for us since they had a 1-mana trick alongside a Crater Maker as the plays for turn. That was super gross. And then that's kind of just a pretty solid example of what happens when you take the weakest archetype in the format and face the strongest one. Although maybe a Golgari's weaker than Selesnya? I actually don't know. I think Selesnya was weaker than Golgari, but neither were very good because green's the weakest color in the set. I don't know, it's been long enough, I don't remember what the very bottom of the tier list is for the guild power levels, but it's the green guilds, it's both of them. Alright, here we are for game 2 on the play. We've got that Cavalier, maybe even turn 4. We definitely have Centaur turn 4 thanks to Sworn Companions. But we do need to hit another white source, but if we do, we can Cavalier turn 4, which will be great. I can District Guide for the white source if I take a hit from Healer's Hawk instead of Righteous Blowing it right now. I think that's worth it. I guess that means taking several hits from Healer's Hawk. Hey, let's go, mirror match. We found a non-Dimir, non-Boros deck. I don't think we did that in our first draft. No, we played against Izzet once, and then like 5-color once, I think. But it was almost all Dimir in our first draft. This draft is mixing things up. In terms of what we're playing and what we're facing. This is green, white, and black, Selesnya and Golgari from our opponent. Okran Assassin. If they don't combat trick that, then that just kills my District Guide. That does stop me from playing Conclave Cavalier, where they kill that. I mean, I guess I get 2 2/2s off of it. But I just want to hold up Righteous Blow now, basically, for the rest of the game. So we play our best 3-drop, which is Sworn Companions or Generous Stray. Both are pretty good, but Generous Stray might hit me another land, which is pretty solid. So I'm going to play that towards the next mana, holding up a Righteous Blow. Because having the Righteous Blow in response to them trying to combat trick up an Oakryn Assassin can be a big deal. Unless they pre-combat combat trick the Oakryn Assassin, and then we do lose the whole board. Luckily, both of the creatures we've played so far have been 2-for-1s already, so it's not that bad for them all to get killed. Prey Upon? Okay. We get a free Prey Upon out of our opponent's hand. Pretty happy with that. Righteous Blow the flyer here. The Assassin was already going to kill whatever they wanted when it dealt combat damage. They probably, again, are just newer to the set, and they're used to the newer removal. That's all just you deal damage, you don't fight. Your creature just deals damage equal to its power. But that one is unfortunately a full-on fight spell. So now we've just got a Conclave Cavalier jamming in, and we're just going to Vigilance them for 1,000,000 on the ground. Cool. Here is another 4/4 Vigilance. And we are just beating down with some beef on the ground here. If our deck is low on removal, at least we could play some beefy creatures and try to just outsize our opponent. Keep slamming all that Vigilance in. Block. Looks like chump. Here's Woodshaper to draw another creature. Finds Conclave Guildmage, or Inspiring Unicorn is actually nasty on this board. If we don't get board wiped. Which maybe chump should leave us to believing they might be board wiping us here. We still have a couple 2/2s post board wipe, so we'll have 2 2/2s with Vigilance against 2 cards in their hand. I actually think we can survive a board wipe, but the only board wipe I can think of would be Ritual of Soot, destroy everything mana value 3 or less. I guess there's the Golgari one, the Finality, -4/-4 to everybody. Yeah, Finality would kill literally everything. That'd be bad. Okay. Don't have a mana to Unicorn and Iron Shell Beetle, so I think I'm just not attacking with the Hawk here. I think I'm just slamming down the Unicorn, because unless they have exactly Finality, Unicorn's an incredible play to just slam in with the entire board next turn for a ridiculous amount of damage. Deadly Visit the Unicorn, fair enough. R.I.P. District Guide plus Generous Stray for the turn seems fine. I'm going to Generous Stray first, see if I draw anything that affects combat. I don't, so we send in and then post-combat the District Guide. I guess I could have Iron Shell Beetled up the Healer's Hawk if we don't want to trade Hawks, but at this point our board is so big I don't think it matters. We're just going to be more mana efficient playing another 3-drop instead. Get all the Golgari Guild Gates. Send a message. There's the concession from our opponent, and we start things off 1-1 as we head into Game 3. Here we are for Game 3. We're 1-1 right now. This hand's a little sketchy. It technically has the white source because of District Guide, but we won't be able to cast any white spells till turn 4, so we don't do anything till turn 3. I think I'm still going to keep it. I think the format's slow enough for it, but it's not great. It's very close to a mulligan, just for speed reasons. Mono black from our opponent so far. There's a Spinal Centipede. We can pretty happily trade a District Guide into that if they offer. We need to hit an untapped white source, so I don't even have a Selesnya. Oh, wait, I do have a Selesnya Guildgate. Well, we need an untapped source. For sure. Dimir Locket. So, Dimir from our opponent, we are back to all Boros and Dimir, as you would expect. All things have been righted in the world, and we are back to the natural order. Can double spell if I cast, like, Generous Stray and Healer's Hawk, I guess? Gets me closer to another white source for later. That is the only way to double spell. Is Generous Stray plus Healer's Hawk better than 2/1/1 Lifelinkers or 1 Ladev champion? I think so. Probably is. Just a 1/2, draw a card, and a 1/1 flying lifelink. Better than a 2/2. Buffs itself a little bit for now. We don't have the million mana to dump into the token-producing aspect of Ladev champion right now. There's the Notion Rain as they dig for some natural blue sources. Some islands and Dimir Guildgates and stuff. Mill a Night Veil Predator because they're pretty stuck on mana, but keep the lands. There's an island. Night Veil Predator, an excellent card. It's like unstoppable, flying death touch hexproof. Just can't even interact with it. Okay, we didn't hit a land that lets us... Well, I guess I can double spell with Dissident here. Wall of Mist is pretty annoying. But we can just send in the whole team. I guess if they block Generous Stray, that's kind of bad, so we just send in District Guide Healer's Hawk. Can Dissident and Fresh-Faced Recruit, or I can cast a single Ladev champion. But the single Ladev champion can attack really, really large and like break through the Wall of Mist later, potentially. But it could also just draw removal from them. Dimir has a lot of good like single target removal. It's not super good at like wiping out a whole board. Actually, kind of want to play Conclave Guild Mage, but it's not super good till I have 6 mana. I'll be on 5 out of 6 here. I'm going to go for the Recruit over the Guild Mage. So there is a common that's pretty decent for them here, the Mephitic Vapors for -1/-1 to everybody, but not everybody likes to main deck that, and it's still only going to kill 2 of our cards, which is certainly bad, but it's not game ending. It's not a full board wipe or anything. Oh, Unicorn would be so sweet with another white source, but the only white source we've drawn all game is the one we tutored for, so that is not a thing. This is +2/+2, not +3/3, so Dissident is not going to kill anything. Still big enough to send in everybody, though. I'd be a little sad to have to Righteous Blow here, but... Righteous Blowing a Muse Drake is fine. I guess I probably should have held Fresh-Faced Recruit back, because I don't want to get called on my bluff on that one. Yeah. Pretty bad. Alright, well, let's wipe their board. Obviously not the wall, but the stuff that really matters here. Yeah, I guess I probably should have just held off for the turn, at least with their fresh-raced recruit. Alright, we got Zenith Flared. Hello, Mythic Uncommon. Discard my double white card, I guess. Every time they surveil, they put this back in our hand, make us discard another card and draw another card. It is a ridiculous card draw engine, and it is the big design mistake of the format. Luckily, no surveil for them yet. They will have it soon enough. Whatever we play here, it's going to be one of our token-producing engines. And whichever one we play is probably going to die, but they're both pretty good, so... if we can have one of them stick around, that would be nice. I guess we probably should have played Conclave Guildmage first. Just to be the lightning rod for removal, so that maybe the champion sticks around. It is slightly better than the Conclave Guildmage. It makes smaller creatures, but it also attacks as a massive threat of its own. Oh no. Night Veil Sprite to guarantee a surveil every single turn to guarantee a recast of Disinformation Campaign every single turn. Pretty filthy. Well, I was gonna say I can at least dump my hand here so that Disinformation Campaign doesn't give them that much value, but I top decked an expensive spell and I cannot dump out my hand, so much for that. Woodshaper over Sworn Companions here. Sworn Companions lets me hit one heart of the Ledev Champion, but I'm pretty sure Ledev Champion is about to die to instant speed removal anyway. So let's just find the best card in the top 4 and then just discard 1 to Disinformation Campaign and keep the best of the 2 that we have in hand post Woodshaper. Unless they cover up. If they cover up though, that means Ledev Champion's still around. Nope. RIP. I could play this immediately. Actually kind of nice. Healer's Hawk can't attack in anyway. Goodbye, Sworn Companions. We're doing decent on board. If all they can do is use Disinformation Campaign as a card draw engine, if they can't find anything else to interact with the board efficiently, we might be able to get wide enough here to slam through for just enough damage. Squeak it through. But they're drawing a lot of cards towards removal, and there is a ridiculous amount of removal in black. Deadly Visit, Severed Strands, Deadweight. It's the uncommon thing as well. Yeah, blue bounce spell it is. Unexplained Disappearance on the Guild Mage, so I can't give the board trample this turn. Plus that surveils, which means a recast of the campaign, which actually kills the Guild Mage. Disinformation Campaign makes me want to rip my hair out. Unless it's my Disinformation Campaign. Because that is the kind of card to just turn most players into an immediate hypocrite. Wow, I can literally only hit for 1 damage right now. This is dumb. Centaur just bounces off the Wall of Mist. Pass Wall Adept kills a 2-1. Well, if Centaur bounces off Wall of Mist and Adept kills a 2-1, that would mean 6 damage getting in, which is a considerable amount of damage. Let's let them kill a 2-1. I will sack a fresh-faced recruit to deal an additional 5. The Healer's Hawk was getting in no matter what, but the extra 5 damage on the ground is thanks to sending everyone in and chomp attacking with recruit. We turned it into a little fireball. Yep. 1 mana to kill my premium 3 mana uncommon. leave all of the mana up to play around with Disinformation Campaign or whatever else they got. This is that minimum Surveil 1 plus draw a card for the recast of Disinformation Campaign, but if they have another bounce spell, then it's just more hard removal. Okay, it's a Gigantic Sphinx on blocks. And a Mesmerist on blocks. Alright. Means no attacks here at all anymore. This is some karmic justice for how we won our first draft. As annoying as this is for us, it's probably less annoying than it was for our opponents with our devious cover-up deck. Although our opponents were actually on really strong decks, really strong color pairs, we are on one of the weakest guilds in the format, which makes it feel a little worse to get Disinformation Campaigned. Not that it ever feels good to get Disinformation Campaigned, but hey. Just feels like bullying. It's like, okay, Dimir, we get it. You're the best color pair, we're the worst. You don't need to throw Disinformation Campaign into the mix. Although I guess they kind of did. If they didn't have the Disinformation Campaign, we would be slightly bigger on board, which is, with our opponent at 7, probably enough. Because it made us discard the Guild Mage and the Sworn Companions. Unicorn, I think, too? No, I think the Unicorn, something else happened to that, but I don't remember what. Oh no, that was our first card that died to Disinformation Campaign. We just only had 1 white man at the time is why. You're just holding up a bunch of devious cover-ups now? No, they also have Bomb Mythics? They got the Disinformation Campaign and the Dome Whisper? The Mythic Uncommon and the Literal Mythic? Ripperoo. It's time to move on. We are now 1-2 heading into game 4. Alright, here we are on the play. Seeing if we can right this ship, turn things around, and try to get a decent win rate run here. But it has been an uphill battle so far, and it might continue. We might be seeing more Dimir. Yep. Best color pair in the format strikes again. It's debatable, Dimir versus Boros, as I've been saying. But one of the S tiers versus the... I don't want to call it F tier. We'll say C tier. We'll say Dimir and Boros are S tier in this format. Izzet is A tier. And then there's nothing in B tier. Then it's Golgari and Selesnya in C tier. There's a pretty big jump. Go, team, go! Quick! Before they lock us out of the game with incredible control options. Just go full aggro, team. We got this. They are 3 colors, so they're full Grixis control here, playing Izzet and Dimir together. Oh no, not the direct current? To kill both of our champions? Ew? Is this blocks or becomes blocked? Of course. It's blocks or becomes blocked. So it trades up into the Unicorn or the Dissident. Well, this can't die to a direct current or a goblin, so here it is. Just hold all the mana up here to interact with the Siege Worm. This is going to be Artful Takedown, tap Siege Worm and kill one of these things, maybe? We're going to let it in. So it's going to be like block plus use a combat trick or burn spell. I I love the unicorn for goblin trade, but it's not like we're breaking through the goblin anyway. Let's send in the squad. So if they are trying to, like, block plus combat trick or removal spell, we get more damage than elsewhere. Does this just take 9? Make me very happy. It is take 9, go to 4. I can Generous Stray and Dissident, and if I top deck a basic, I can Generous Stray and Champion. We did. They could have a counterspell up here, but if they do that, they don't have House Guild Mage mana up. Because the counterspell would have to be the double blue one, the Devious cover-up. Hypothesis, ew. Well, that kills Champion. They don't have House Guild Mage mana up, though, so if they want to keep the Siege Worm tapped down, they have to tap Guild Mage next turn and not have it up as a blocker. So that's helpful. They don't have double black, so if they have the good common black removal, the Deadly Visit, they don't even have the mana for it here. So they have to, like, lock down the Siege Worm and direct current the Dissident. Take 1 damage here, and then they have to keep Guild Maging down the Siege Worm. Alright. Well, we ran them out of the direct currents. So hopefully they don't have one for the Dissident, and even if they do, we hit the land now, so we can make it a 4/4 in response to them shooting it for 2. We might have a chance here, because their deck looks more Izzet than Dimir. And Izzet is good. Izzet is better than Selesnya. But Izzet isn't Dimir levels of good. This looks pretty good now. We trade our Dissident up into the Barging Sergeant and put them to 2. Or put them to 1. Actually, we win the combat with that. We don't have any of our Golgari Guild Gates, sadly, but just the +1/+1 is enough to keep Dissident on board. Or put them to 1 life. I think I'd rather keep Dissident on board. They're down to 2. There's the double black, though. Is that Deadly Visit, Siege Worm, Lockdown, Dissident go to 1? Still leaves us with a chance, even if it is the Deadly Visit. Yep, there it is. Alright, lock down the Dissident, go to 1 life. Probably our opponent's best play. Got a couple lethal draws. Iron Shell Beetle to put a +1/+1 counter on Generous Stray, or our +3/+3 combat trick as well. Oh my goodness. Poke for 2? Close game there. Obviously it doesn't look close when we're at 16 and they're at 0, but that's kind of how the more controlling decks in the format, the Dimir kind of decks, can play quite often, is where the game's going to flip around when they're at like 4 and we're still at like 20, but they just end up with like a ton more cards in hand. They can set up their draws. They win all of those late game top deck wars super well. So close match. Even though it didn't look super close. I was terrified the whole time, but luckily for us, they were much more of an Izzet deck than a Dimir deck. I mean, look at all this red. We only saw the 2 black spells, 1 Deadly Visit, and 1 House Guild Mage, and we can beat Izzet. We can't quite beat Dimir, so we can barely beat this deck. And we are now 2-2, heading into game 5. Alright, here we are on the play for game number 5. We're at 2-2 right now. We're teetering on mediocrity. We got to get at least 1 more win to get 50-50 out of this one. And I'm going to do my best. Luckily, we have hit our land drop on curve to play District Guide on turn 3 to allow us to get that Cavalier down turn 4, so that is an excellent start. Recruit into Guide into Cavalier is how it's going to go, and it's a mirror match, Selesnya mirror match. Okay, Dawn of Hope is strong. Once they get to the mana to use it, spit out 1/1 lifelinkers for 4. That's going to win a long game no matter what. So we try to curve out as efficiently as possible and be the beat down here. Luckily, we're on the play to help do that. But we need to kill them before this game goes too long, because if it does, they have a really good mana sink that'll take over the game. It's a card draw engine and infinite chump blocks and all that stuff when they've got enough mana. Oh no. Wow, their deck is balmy. Good lord, Dawn of Hope and Amara. I mean, we 100% just slam into the Amara here and offer a Righteous Blow. Unless they don't block, then we drop Conclave Cavalier. Okay. She spits out a 1/1 lifelinker every time that she attacks, and because they had the Guild Mages form, she came with a +1/+1 counter as well to make her not even traded one of our 2/2s. So, explosive start from our opponent, rare into rare. But we're going to do our best with our Pauper deck here. I guess it's not a Pauper deck, it's a Peasant deck. We don't have any rares, but we do have uncommons. There's a black source for potential splashy stuff here. I can cast a Wood Shaper and still hold up Righteous Blow. That's probably the play, but I might as well just hold up the mana right now. Wood Shaper post-combat. Show me the play. Actually, their worst block if they don't have a trick. Because the first strike kills Amara and we don't even lose our thing. They do have the removal, but we get to jam for 6 then, and they're down to 8. I can't double creatures, so I feel Wood Shaper is the best play. To dig, find a Conclave Guild Mage. It's the best card here. I think so. We're really close to just giving the whole board trample and killing them, even if they make a 1/1 trumper with the Dawn of Hope. Okay, District Guide. Find a mana. And have pretty good double blocks now. Oh my god, stop playing rares. What is going on? I mean, we don't have any legends in this deck, so that's just a 2-mana 2/2 vigilance, but still. This isn't Outlaws at Thunder Junction. You're not supposed to have more than like 1 rare in your deck, and you've played 3 already. Shoot. Now that they ripped our Righteous Blow from our hand, we can't send in with anybody but the Cavalier at this point. At least the Cavalier sends in pretty well. Put them to 4. I think I actually go Dissident Guild Mage here, really trying to get lethal next turn off of trampling with everybody. Because then I can give everyone trample and send in a 4-power trampling Dissidents. We're not trampling over, they are still threatening the Dawn of Hope lifelinking chump blocks. Okay, so if we assume that they are Dawn of Hoping, if we give the board trample, we have 8, because Dissident gets +2/+2, 9, 10, 11, 12 power on board, against 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 toughness. They go to 1. Our 12 power tramples over for 4, but they gain a life. And if they have another instant speed removal spell, this is where they just like turn things around and win, I'm pretty sure. We got hopes and dreams over here. It's Dawn of Hope. Dawn of Hope go to 1. Probably. Unless there's 1 mana removal I'm not thinking of. Dawn of Hope go to dead? Hold up, that's go to dead. Unless 1 black mana instant? Because that's 5 damage. We trample over the 1/1 for 1. They gain 1, but they take 5. Did we slightly outrace? Selesnya rares the deck? It's actually 4 color rares. Green, white, blue, black. Guild mages for them. It's just like 5 color rares or something. Necrotic Wound with 0 creatures in grave. Oh my god. So it's -0, -0. Really, really close to stabilizing there, but we slam in for lethal, just right in the nick of time, and we are officially at least a 50-50 run. We made it. We made it out of the low win rate bracket. We made it out of mediocrity. Well, I mean, 3-3 is still mediocrity, but it's at least a 50-50 here, and we are turning our gems into at least 1,000 gems back. The difference in prize out between 2 and 3 wins is what really hurts. If you get 2 or less wins, you're getting almost nothing back. But at 3, you're not losing that many gems. It's 1,500 to play. You're getting 1,000 back and 2 packs, keeping all the cards you drafted. So pretty happy with this turnaround after a couple early losses. We are now 3-2, heading into round number 6. This is a very unkeepable hand for game 6. 4 green cards, 2 plains. That's a mulligan. And there's no plains in this one. Oh. 2-drop green card, even if we don't find a white source, I guess. This is better than our 7-card hand, but still sketchy. Oh no, we top decked a 3-drop that could find our white source, and now ditching a land looks awkward, but hey, there we go. Alright. Top deck the plains, and we're in business. Maybe not. I mean, we are against Dimir. And it looks like really solid Dimir so far. Burglar Rat and Notion Rain, solid commons for the archetype. They surveil both to the top, so they are drawing cards that they like. They're drawing well so far. You know, with double the Dev Champion and nothing I even need more mana for right now, I'm just gonna run these champions out. I doubt they're spending removal on a district guide anyway, so at least if they don't have removal, we can hit harder by starting with champion. Sick Nasty, 1 mana to demolish my premium 3 mana uncommon again. Deadweight's back at it. I can only cast 1 creature this turn. They're not going to spend removal on a 2-2 or a 2-1 when they've got a 1-4 on board, so we got to just play another Ledev champion and pray for no removal. And if they have removal, they're already incredibly stable, and Dimir pretty much always wins the long game, thanks to the Surveil ability, and just the massive amounts of card draw, like Notion Rain. Alright. If this was a personal draft for fun, I would concede right now, but I know all of you want me to play it out and do my absolute best. So just in case there's some real corner case where we can turn things around, we're going to stick in it, but if you want to stop watching the video right now, that's fair. This game is basically over. There's the Watcher in the Mist. A flyer to start killing us while they set up their draws and make sure they don't flood out. They just keep hitting more premium interaction while holding off all our attacks. The Unicorn's something. That can get us some attacks. The Dissident does get to attack if we didn't cast anything, but I feel Unicorn's good enough since it enables plenty of other attacks. Not into the Hired Poisoner, sadly. But there's Sworn Companions to go with the Unicorn. Alright, so Dissident trades into the Hired Poisoner here. Nope, this is Artful Takedown now. Really? Man. That's pretty gross. Second Watcher in the Mist, set up the draws and get another flyer for 6 a turn now, so a 3-turn clock till we're dead. We find a Golgari Guildgate we can't send in to the Hired Poisoner. There's the Thoughtbound Phantasm, and another Notion Rain. They're up another 2 cards while setting up their draws, and they're buffing the Thoughtbound Phantasm. We're down to 2 life here, but technically not dead yet. Oh no, my planes! Thought Erasure still puts a counter onto the Thoughtbound Phantasm if nothing else. Mills a Swamp to ensure they keep drawing gas. There's the Muse Drake to draw another card and get some flyers on the board again. They now have 7 power in the sky, even if I somehow deal with one of these Watchers, we're mega dead. And we don't. Kelsey, please, we have died to Dimir. And 3 and 3 will be the final result for this deck. I think the big learning moment here, the big thing I'd like to show you all with this draft, is that if you are strictly trying to win in this format, as I kind of said near the end of the draft when we were starting the deck building, you just shouldn't play green. You really just shouldn't. You should probably just be forcing Dimir and Boros because of the pretty large disparity in power level of those kind of archetypes. So unless everyone is really experienced with the format and knows just how powerful Dimir and Boros can be, and they're all competing over those enough to make sure that they are a little overdrafted, you're just going to get crushed by those color pairs. Like, if, let's say you're in a draft pod where Selesnya and Dimir are equally open, and then you as the Selesnya player pair up against the Dimir player, you're going to lose that pretty much every time. But if you're in a draft pod where 4 people are fighting over Dimir and there's only 1 person in Selesnya and that person's you, sometimes you can win that matchup. I think just because we're flashing back to the format after quite some time, people are going to be newer to it, and it's going to be much less likely that 4 people are fighting over Dimir or 4 people are fighting over Boros. So you should probably just hop in to those incredibly powerful color pairs. As we see from our record today, we had a really wide open Selesnya deck here. The only thing we really missed out by the way we drafted was a Camaraderie, which would have been a 6-mana card trying to win, which is slow enough we would have still gotten rolled by the Boros deck, and it's slow enough that I would have just gotten countered by those Dimir decks. So I don't think the Camaraderie would have super helped in any of those losses anyway. And outside of that, we got past like all the Selesnya good stuff, and we've got a great curve of creatures. We slammed in for as much damage as we could, and we still just get completely crushed, all 3 of our losses being Boros, Dimir, and Dimir. The C-tier archetype of the format getting crushed by those S-tier decks. 3 and 3 will be the end record, because we did find some victories against Izzet and Selesnya and 4-color, right? So when we weren't against those S-tier archetypes, our deck could do some work, which was nice. We are leaving with at least 1,000 gems, so reasonable ending to the draft for being in one of the weakest color pairs in the format. But that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching the video. If you enjoyed this video and are interested in seeing some more, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. But other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.